Hi, I'm Johannes Helberger from Sound Innovation Lab, founder and head of Sound Innovation Lab. We design sound for future technologies, and I will start with my impulse today with can smart UX sound help to make things better here at XPRO Berlin at IFA. So welcome at the stream, welcome. It's a big audience here. And let me start with a short background before we go into that very interesting question. So my background is, on one part, is being a sound artist, and I did spatial compositions, installations, and performances, like this one in the Venice Biennale. And what it gave me is to experiment with perception of time and space and how an audience would feel the space when you change the sound. And then the other me is a sound experience designer for about 20 years, and I did a lot of interactive experiences in virtual rooms and real spaces, and learned how sound and music helps to immerse in a certain space or for a brand or a product or a certain message. And that brought me to that I founded Kling Klang Klong with some colleagues in 2014. And from starting with interactive experiences, we became an award-winning studio for sonic experiences, and in the end did a lot of sound scenographies all over the world, created holistic experiences with sound and music. But then I decided to leave Kling Klang Klong to pursue more innovation projects, and my work as sound experience designer brought me to work with many institutions, brands, and products, and help to communicate, tell stories, and very often make things more emotional, beautiful, immersive, and desirable. But the question that bugged me was, how can my expertise actually make an impact, and how can sound help to make things better? And that question drove me to where I am today. Design is often led by intuition and inspiration, but to really find out how our perception works, I needed to integrate science into my methodology, and started to work with the audio communication group at TU Berlin, and giving seminars, doing research, and get a deeper understanding how our perception works and how sound affects us. So let's start with one example of a scientific finding from COSIN, a study from 1958. It's actually an example how sound can make things worse, that aircraft noise reduces fertility of male chicken. So yes, we're sorry about the chicken, but we all know that traffic noise and airplane noise is really not healthy for us. And designing sound comes with a responsibility for health and well-being. And still today we have a lot of noise around us. And that's what product sound design was about actually for a long time. It was about getting rid of the noise of the cars and the machines after the industrialization. But now we are in a really interesting time because now engineers succeeded to get rid of a lot of these noises, and like in electronic vehicles, now we start to actually design the sound things make and design actually the soundscape of our lives. So, sorry, let me have a drink. So let's look at a positive example which gives hope. It's a study from Allende in 2016. And he found out that sound can have a positive impact on health in hospital settings. So it's nice that he found out this, but if you have been to a hospital, you should know that it's really far from optimal, right? So if you think of an intensive care unit, for example, it would sound like this. What happened here is the question. Why do we surround people with these noises when they come actually to a hospital to get better? And now we know that these noises actually are really not supportive to do that. And this still happens a lot when people design technology, still today. It's when engineers tend to reduce sound design for products and user experiences to convey information through sound. So of course it's super important that the doctors get understand the heartbeat and know if the lung works and stuff like that. But but what they didn't take into account, I think, is the emotional part sound always conveys. And we at Sound Innovation Lab think that it's definitely possible to convey this important information and still create sound systems which work in a, let's say, in a healthy way and create a nice atmosphere to relax and calm people down. So, topic emotion, let's shed some light on emotion. So, I've been a film composer and advertisement composer for a long time, and then you learn how to trigger emotions with your audience and how to make the car in the desert heroic or make a horror scene really creepy. But what I didn't know at that time is something very interesting neuroscience found out recently, is that we all work with different brain states, right? And these brain states are connected to mental abilities. So if you work, for example, in an organizing way, you would have a certain brain state which gives you the possibility to do that. And then if you would create or you'd brainstorm or you would relax, you would have a very different brain state. And these brain states are connected to actually your emotional state. So if you organize things or if you work, you would have also a different emotion, a different mood than when you go to sleep, for example. And this is a very interesting topic in UX sound design, especially, is the mood management. It is, I think everybody of us has music and playlists where they know they trigger certain moods and they go good with running and these things. But when it comes to user experiences for smart technology, it's particularly interesting if your system can adapt and support to you at any situation in real time. So the design question would be, can generative sound based on real-time input help users to work and relax? And this design question was a base for a project we did in my time with Kling Klang Klong, we did together with Samsung. And the idea was for these smart TVs from Samsung to create an interactive sound system which would get the real-time input of the user environment and create music and sound which supports working, which supports sleeping, which supports relaxing. And this in real time. So we made a study with this to compare composed music for these certain things and the real-time generated music and sound, and found out that actually based on real-time input, the generative sound could help users much more to work or relax. So to make these things possible, you need to design holistically. So if you make a holistic sound experience design for user experiences, for example, you need to be user-centered. You have to think of the environment where the product or the experience is going to happen. And you have to think of all the other senses. We don't think actually that you can solve every problem with sound. Sometimes the best solution is silence, right? We don't want to have sound always everywhere. So we want to have the right sound at the right time in the right way to be played. And to do so, at Sound Innovation Lab, we bring together designers, scientists, and engineers to shape the future of how we live, interact, and communicate with technology. It's quite a big mission, but that's actually what drives us to make these things actually better. And so the thing now is many companies are confronted with questions about sound and user experiences, but most companies don't have enough people who know about sound. So this is when our partners from the industry come to us, and then we work closely with UX teams or product teams from partners. And on the other side, exactly, to understand their problems, needs, and visions. And then on the other side, we work with science institutes, like the TU Berlin, for example, and always are in the process for research and development for the new findings, methods, and technology to bridge this gap to use state-of-the-art science and state-of-the-art algorithms also and possibilities to then, together with our industry partners, rethink the problem, maybe envision a possibility to challenge the status quo and do something very differently, develop prototypes, and in the end help to implement those in products. So let's get back to our main question. How can UX sound help to make things better? Innovation, we call Sound Innovation Lab, and innovation inherently means that something is not only new, but it's also helpful. So let's have a look into our everyday lives, where it's not much better sometimes than in these hospital settings. This is not my kitchen, but the sounds you're going to hear is actually recorded at my home in my kitchen. And it's a German brand, it's not so cheap, and when I try to cook with that oven, it sounds like this. So again, engineers creating audio information signal. Basically that. And nothing against engineers, right? We work a lot with engineers. It's just what the task they got to do. So, and then there's this other trend where I have another example recorded in my home. When my daughter was born, she had problems to sleep. So I would take the Bluetooth speaker to calm her down, and she would, already close to sleep, would put like wave sounds or something. You put the Bluetooth speaker on, and what happens
Battery,
then?
90%. Mobile device not found.
It's really not what you want the thing to do in that situation, right? And as I said, it was a trend, but in the end, if you scale this up to for like where we're heading, like smart technology in your homes everywhere, you don't want everything to beep and to talk to you, right?
Battery, 90%.
So, of course, now this is not new for companies, and many companies do what I call the brand sound approach. So they work with agencies and create very beautiful sounds like this one, or like that one. And we also do this with our partners from the industry, because also these things they design, they don't have a possibility to do something differently. They play like 5 to 10 sounds, right? And they just play these every time you do something. And they normally are, very often they're quite big for the information they should do. So here you have another sound. So, but is this sample player logic really smart? So, let's ask me a question, what do we expect from smart technology as users? We want technology to be helpful, intuitive, and when it comes to sound, unobtrusive, right? And product designers want their smart tech, of course, to be smart. And then, which means, for me at least, that it's somehow context aware. It knows when you talk, it knows when you sleep, it knows when you work. And it is anticipative. It kind of knows or has an idea what you're going to do next and maybe try to help you in that thing. And when it comes to sound, product designers also want their product to have a certain characteristic. And then you have the brand, which of course want to be recognizable, want differentiation to other brands, and out of that, when it comes to sound, have a certain aesthetic brand fit. So all this together, I think for smart tech, we need smart UX sound systems rather than sample players, which can really work with you and work with the situation and dynamically blends into your awareness and blends out in a certain moment. And to design smart UX sound systems, we have to take into account that sound conveys not only information and emotion, but also orientation. So this is all these three things which we perceive through sound. And so let's let's imagine ourselves back, because it's a very evolutionary thing. So if you look back, like, I don't know, 20,000 years, and you're in the jungle, and you're maybe hunting, and you hear a crack behind you, right? Then you get a lot of information out of that crack. You would hear, is it a big animal? Is it a small animal? Is it maybe a friend? Is it a human? Is it a branch falling down? Is it maybe a fruit? Is it ripe? Is it big? There's a lot of information from this one crack you could hear. And then an orientation, right? You know exactly where it was. You have with your 360-degree perception. And whatever you get out of that information would trigger a certain emotion. And I think if it's a tiger, you expect a very different emotion than if it's a friend or a fruit, right? Sorry. So, the thing is, in UX sound design, I think we can make use of this subconscious high-speed processor we actually have in our minds, right? It's a perception which happens without you having to really take your awareness to it. You can communicate via sound without having people to look up, look at screens, and so forth. And this was a base for a very interesting project which kind of really made use of these capabilities we have as humans. So it's called Project Trust, because we sat together with our friends from Volkswagen Group, Future Design Center, and discussed the problems which will come with autonomous driving. And we expect people to sit in these autonomous cars, basically robots driving you around, reading, working, relaxing, talking, and actually to be able to sit like this and read and relax, you need to trust that robot that it won't kill you and drive into the next wall. And that's what we also, or they also expect, is in that transition time when we're not used to that, when we're actually used to steer ourselves, trust is a super important topic. So the design question we came up with was, can sound help to create trust in autonomous vehicles? And to find something for this, we cooperated with the Future Design Center from Volkswagen Group, as I said, Sound Innovation Lab, and the Technical University, and with a group of students from my Sonic Interaction Design Seminar, we developed the AVA system. And the AVA system means Autonomous Vehicle Assurance, and it's a sound system which has basically three functions. One function is to prepare a user for upcoming maneuvers. So you would sit there, and there would be the sound, which before the car is going to brake, you would already hear a sound going down, like a brake, or for left and right. So if you sit and read a book, you know there's this gravity thing which can throw you off if you don't expect a certain movement. And then you have the system shows you that it understands the surrounding, which is also an important thing for trust, right? If you see a pedestrian coming or a bike coming close to getting in front of your car, maybe if you sit there, you would try to brake because you don't know if your car knows that it's happening. But with the AVA system, we try to then create sounds which reflect that sensorial system of the car and let you hear that that actually it understands where users are. So with our orientation sense in a spatial 3D sound, right? And all of this, of course, not with a lot of sound signals, but in a way that it really relaxes yourself and really works with your subconsciousness and don't throw you off your book by doing it, but really start to, create this atmosphere. Actually, we also have a video for this project, but which will come soon, so there you can hear more of the sounds. So what we did then is to create a mixed reality prototype in a 3D sound system, together with a virtual reality driving simulator. And with this one, we made a evaluation, right? So we had a control group who had normal electronic vehicle sounds, and we had one group doing driving with AVA sounds. And they had this task, because we needed to know. So let me tell you about the task. 2 tasks, right? One task is telling what's happening on the street. The other task is having this virtual iPad, and you have to follow the ring and get points. And you have to do both tasks at once. And this brought us to very positive results for the study. Is the task performance for the AVA group was significantly higher to make the right forecast of what's happening, and also in the task performance they were pretty much better. Also, the feeling to intervene with the right or being surprised by braking, both of this was significantly better. So basically the result was sound can help to create trust in autonomous vehicles. And I'm coming to the end now of this impulse with the question, can smart UX sound help to make things better? And I hope you have an idea for an answer yourself. I would say it depends. You have to design holistically, user-centered, keep track of the environment where the technology is going to be used, think of all the senses, use the subconscious high-speed processor, work with information orientation and emotion and when to use what. And if you happen to make things and have questions like, how can sound help to make smart cars better, or smart homes, or smart environments, metaverse, robots, user interfaces, any future technologies, you're really invited to come to us and work with us on smart UX sound design, engines and systems. You can contact us here. Also, we are really open for collaboration with universities, other companies, or anybody who's interested in that topic. And if you want a linked list with the studies I showed you and the projects, you can write me a mail or hit me on LinkedIn, and I can help you with that. So, and maybe we come together and can fulfill our mission to shape the future of how we interact and communicate with technology. Thanks a lot, and thanks XPRO for bringing me here. It was a pleasure, actually also nice to have an audience here. I hope it was worthwhile for your time, and bye-bye.